This is Heath,
And I'm Josh.
and this is randomness. What's going on, dude?
Hey, how's it going?
I said that really loud, and you did like a really long Josh. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
we're
yeah,
excited.
yeah, we are excited. It's episode 31. So I hope you all liked the Halloween episode from last week. I had fun editing that because we got to
Yeah.
throw in different stuff that we normally don't do, like the fun music and the Halloween music and whatnot. But
Yeah.
so yeah, we're gonna jump right in real quick. We have a guest with us. Her name is Stephanie Boone, a friend of mine for over or ours, I get to say 35 years or something. 30. God bless. Welcome to the show.
Yeah,
Hey.
thank you. Excited to be
Yeah.
here.
Welcome.
Uh, I should have asked you before we came on here. Now that we're on, I didn't know. I should have what your title is now, but I guess we're gonna find this out as we go. So,
My
um,
title? Well, I
yeah.
go by Steph these days and mommy.
Mommy. Oh yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But
Good title.
And I
so
get,
we,
called a few other names here and there, but
uh, you and me both, girl. Shoot, all the time,
Haters.
every day, every day, every day. But so let's kind of start at the beginning here. So Steph and I'm calling you Steph. Is that okay? Because that's
yeah,
like,
that's what I go by these
yeah.
days.
Okay. So we've known each other literally since, gosh, you were probably 14 or 15, and I was 16 years old. Um,
Mhm.
you actually, I don't know if you remember this, but you went with me and my family for my 16th birthday.
Where
Um,
did we go? I do
and
not remember
I
this.
have the picture and I'll post it, but you're gonna be so pissed because the hair is amazing.
I have, like,
Um,
the big curly hair with the, like,
oh
side bang.
The bangs.
yes,
Yeah. The
yes, yes.
wave or something.
We went
Yeah,
to
I've
uh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I've seen some, high school pictures recently. My mom shared some photos with me, and I'm wearing these, like, short, like a suit set with like a turtleneck.
Oh yeah, I remember
And
that.
it's like a blue blazer and the like culotte shorts and a
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
turtleneck and like the big ass hair. Yeah,
Yeah, that was classic Steph Boone back in the day.
classic. It should have been telling, I guess, but we didn't know then what we know
I didn't think
now.
of well, okay, fair enough. We'll get into that later. So so yeah, you went with my family and me and my friend Corey Petrowski. I don't know if you remember him. He lived across
Yeah,
the street,
yeah.
and we went to. It's where Bums. It was. It was the 50s.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, like the Cadillac place,
G
the
Willies.
50s
not G Willie's. It was something. It was G Willie's at one point, but it was that 50.
boxcar.
Gosh dang it! Now it's gonna drive me crazy. Anyway, so we went to that. I don't remember that was I just gotten my car. It was that old 1970 Mercedes, and
Mhm.
anyway, I was so proud of that car that cost me a whole $950. And anyway, then we went back to my house and had cake and all that stuff with my family. So, and then we dated for a bit. I don't remember how long that we dated. I can't really remember. I just remember if I can tell this, is when we first started dating, you were living at the house that your parents had, and while we were dating, your parents split up and you moved to an apartment with your
Oh, yeah, my life changed pretty drastically during that period.
yeah, yeah. So I just didn't know if you remembered. I was there during all that, and then it was really weird was for me was is like right before that happened, w- we went. You invited me to go to an Alan Jackson concert with your family at, at the expo
uh,
center, and I'm like, okay, I'll go to Alan Jackson concert, whatever. And it was, and then it was like a day later, you're like, my parents are splitting up and we're moving to an apartment,
wow.
and I was like, what is going on? I had
That's
no
great.
idea. So I'm not trying to drag all your personal, but at the same
Yeah,
time,
no.
it's part of the story here. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember those things, but probably because of, what was going on at home, you know? Like,
yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't you, Heath, it was me.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I was gonna say I don't remember me much either. I understand, but yeah, no, I
I
remember
do
that.
remember your Mercedes, though. I
Yeah,
remember driving around a lot in that. That was fun.
yeah, we drove around a lot, and then at one point, man, we're gonna get real deep here. For some reason, we were still hanging out, but then you started dating David Miklinchek. I don't know if you remember
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And then
Mm.
we were still driving around. I think I was dating Marcy Kyler's or something like that.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Rest in peace,
Dang,
Marcy.
the Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, everybody always liked that old car. I wish I still had it. Um, but so I'm trying to remember if there was other things that okay, so let's do this. I've asked a couple people this. When you think of Josh and Heath, as far as when our names come up, what's the first things that pop into your head?
Funny and friends with everyone. Um, and just like sweethearts.
Fair enough. That's
Yeah.
Well,
What's
thank you.
everybody else say about you?
pretty much the same thing. What'd you say, Josh?
I didn't say anything, but probably it depends who you ask. So,
Yeah, no, that's pretty much what. Usually, it's the laugh thing. It's we always had fun with you is usually what I get.
Mm-hmm.
Which at the
That
time
checks out.
I didn't know that that's that everybody was correlating with me. I guess I don't know if that's the right
Mm.
way of saying it. Um, I was just being me.
Yeah,
You
you're a
know,
yeah.
fun-spirited guy.
but I'm glad that that's what you remember. But so I graduated. Well, you graduated in '95 or '6?
5.
5. Okay, so the same as Josh. And
Mhm.
once once I left and went off to college and all that, then you're still in high school. Can you want to talk about your high school experience with what we had spoken about before, or
Yeah, I mean, I think, high school is kind of crazy. I guess that is when my parents got divorced and I mean, yeah, I don't know what to say about it. I know that the day I graduated, I left and I never went back. And I really don't even like going to Temple for like holidays and stuff. My family still lives like Temple, Belton, Salado, and I will go to their houses, but I don't like going anywhere else because I think I might see people.
oh yeah,
Um, yeah, and it's not that it was all bad. Like I had incredible teachers and I loved humanities and um yeah, I think it was just kind of bizarre. I mean, I had different friend groups. I was APIB and lettered in like 5 sports. Um, I was pretty busy. And yeah, my senior year like a horrible thing happened. Um which yeah, I don't know if I want to get into right now. Maybe I'll come back to it, but like a horrible thing happened and it just kind of like rocked my world and kind of was this like dark cloud over the next like decade of my life. Like it impacted my college experience, it impacted my like dating relationships, who I thought I was, like just crazy stuff. So I don't like I have fond memories of high school and I have like not great memories of high school. Um yeah, and I have some funny reunion memories. So when we get like closer down the path about my starting Wondercide and then having our 15-year reunion, there were some like comments made to me that were like super insulting and hilarious
wow,
and basically like just kept fueling the fire for me to keep going and working towards success. So,
wow. Okay, all right.
yeah.
Well, so then, well, let's just okay. Let's move to college then. So you
Yeah.
graduated in '95. Where did you go to school?
I went to Baylor.
Okay,
And I think that I picked Baylor because it felt safe to me after like the traumatic experience I had my senior year. My two best friends that were older, one of them went to Baylor and one of them went to Trinity. And when this thing happened to me, I like didn't come out of my like literal closet for a few days, and they like came home from school and like sat with me and like took me to the police station and did all the things and got me out of there. And I think when I graduated, like I got into every place I applied to, like TCU, SMU, Trinity. I got a soccer scholarship to like Hardin Simmons, I think,
oh
which was
really?
bizarre because the first time I played soccer was my senior year. And I had played softball like my whole life, but
Yeah.
like that was the thing. But I think it's because I went so hard. I like broke shins and that kind of thing.
Well,
So
that
good
doesn't
good
surprise me.
Yeah.
good addition to a collegiate soccer
Yeah.
team. But yeah, I went to Baylor. It was awful, 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 awful. It was so, my family was like very middle working class and dysfunctional, like a lot of families are. My mom was working like 3 jobs. uh my sister was like working to help us pay rent. We all shared a car. Like it was just very, and then in Temple too, the same thing. Like I had a lot of friends that had a lot of money, and so like being at their house with their family and their cars and all their stuff, and like we could barely afford jeans. Like I'm trying to remember, like I remember like Z Caparicis and
Jabot.
Chabot.
Guess and Jabot and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But it was a big deal,
It was,
um,
yeah.
for us, and it was like nothing for them. And Baylor was like that on steroids,
Mm.
except everyone had this air of, well, privilege for sure, like all white, cis, hetero, Christian, uh, privilege. And it was, I think the thing that was the hardest for me is that I, I was around these people during the week when they were like drinking, doing cocaine, like smoking weed, like the things you do in college. But it's Baylor, and like sleeping with all these people. And then on the weekends, their parents would come and you'd see them around campus and they're in their like, you know,
I totally know this.
Sunday
pristine
best.
outfits. What's that?
And their Sunday best.
And their Sunday best, and they were coming and going to church while I was going to my waitress job, in my like shitty Toyota or whatever I had. So, yeah, it was kind of awful, and I don't remember if I went 3 or 4 semesters, but I left in an ambulance. Like I tried to kill myself.
My gosh.
I left in an ambulance, and I never went back. And then I transferred. I think I like took the summer or whatever. I don't even remember like what happened after that. Like I was in a like mental ward for a while, but
Man.
they had. I do remember it was at Scott and White Hospital, and I remember they had this like when you attempt suicide or something, um, you have to be in this like program so many days. But I was like smarter than the people who worked there, so I like would listen to the conversations and figured out like what I needed to say in order to like get early release. So I did, but I have no idea what I did for the rest of the summer. But then I went to Texas State, and I was there for 1 semester, and I got a 0.0.
Wow.
uh it was not great, and like I was just like partying and not I was like very dysregulated, very dysfunctional, not well. And so I left there and I moved to Austin. I think I stayed with my parents like a month or something, and we were all like, we can't do this, right? And then I moved to Austin and started bartending on 6th Street, uh, saved a bunch of money. And I had some friends that were graduating from UT, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna go follow String Cheese Incident, this jam band. We're gonna like travel around the country, go follow this band. Do you want to go with us?" And I was like, "Yep." So I put myself in storage, traveled around the
Wow.
country for like 6 months, camping, staying in shitty hotels, whatever, and then ended up in South Lake Tahoe. And I essentially became a like professional blackjack player. So I
Oh, all
played,
right.
Wow.
yeah, I played blackjack during at night. I snowboarded during the day, and I was really fucking good at it. The is it the Kenny Rogers song? No one to hold him, no one to
No
fold
one
Yeah.
to
him.
fold them. Yeah. Hmm.
Never count your money when you're sitting at the table. Like those were like literally my strategies. Like
Your
pop
rules.
off. Yeah, like so I would go
Nice.
in with like $50 or whatever, right? And this is back when they had like $5 tables and like 1 card deck. So pretty
Yeah.
easy stuff at the time,
Yeah.
maybe 2 card decks. And I knew how to like read the tables and then like where to sit and then how to get all of the people to understand that they were playing against the house, not each other.
Right.
And so, mediating, that kind of stuff. So that was a lot of fun. But I would go in with like $50 or something, and whatever I played, whatever I won, I would just put it in my pocket. And then so when my original like $50 on the table was gone, I would walk out. So I never lost more than like $50, but I most always walked out with a lot more than that. Yeah. And I
Nice.
ended up with like a 3-story house on Lake Tahoe.
Wow.
Um,
Damn.
yeah,
Nice.
I was
Alright.
pretty good at it.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I miss city life, and so the nearest city from there was San Francisco. Well, backing up, when I lived in Tahoe, I knew these people who had dogs, and they wanted to like have puppies, and I introduced them. And then when the litter of puppies came, they were Akita Husky mixes, and they let me choose the first puppy. And so they were all like, they
Oh,
all looked like Huskies except for one, which was this gold and black dog, and that's the one I chose. Like, she was just like special. I feel like she chose me. I don't know. She was different. And I named her Luna. Um, and she's the reason that I ended up starting my company, years later. So Luna was my ride or die. She moved with me all over the country, like in and out of relationships, in and out of apartments and houses. But so I moved to San Francisco, and I met these brothers from Marin, and um, ideated and built out, and co-founded this bar called Butter.
Nice.
And within like 3 months, yeah, it was like a white trash bistro, but it was hilarious because it was
Nice.
in the financial district. And so all the like rich guys would get off work and come over to the bar and like drink martinis. But the concept, was that we had this Airstream trailer. And this is, guys, this is like 1999, right?
Yep.
This
before
is not like
all that,
now,
yeah.
Yeah.
before any of this was cool.
Yep.
I'm just like a trendsetter over here.
Yeah.
But we gutted the thing and stacked it full of like microwaves. And so while we were selling these like high end cocktails and people are like doing lines of Coke off the bar or whatever, they would get hungry, and then we would serve them like beanie weenies and tater tots for like $20 a boat or something.
Nice.
I thought you were gonna say
Uh,
Hot Pockets.
I
no.
was waiting for the hot pockets too. Yeah.
I mean, we might have. I remember tater tots. Maybe I ate my fair share of them. But we also were the home of the invention of the vodka Red Bull.
Oh, really? Wow.
Uh-huh. And that sign, there's like a neon sign. That bar is still open in San Francisco, and that sign hangs in there. But we were featured in Rolling Stones magazine for the concept.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah. So I was
Still
I was there for a couple of years, and then uh I was hanging out with a lot of people. Like, there was definitely like an alt scene there. And these were the days when I was like dressed in all black and like had the eyeliner, and I wore like a spiked dog collar, and Luna had a matching one. And I just like walked with my like husky dog all over the streets of San Francisco. But one of my friends, who was actually a model, um, had an overdose on heroin.
Yikes.
And I had this realization, like, if I don't leave the city, if I don't get out of here, I will not make it out. I won't make it
Mm.
out alive.
Yeah.
So I came back to Austin, and pretty much have been here ever since. I did different things, like worked at an art studio. Um, I worked for the American Cancer Society as a information specialist. I guess what kind of gave me my path was, I helped all these small business owners, and I learned how to do everything from, bookkeeping to marketing to sales to managing people, managing leaders, that kind of stuff in these small
Right.
organizations. And I got hired on at this property tax consulting firm. It was like all men, and I did all the work. I was the executive assistant. It was crazy, the stuff that they had me do. But I eventually, I was making like $23,000 a year, and now it's like 2001, 2002. Like, that's not very much money.
Yeah.
And I learned how to do the casework, and I realized, like, you don't need a college degree to get that. And these guys were making six figures,
Mm.
um, and clearly I did not get a college degree. So that is not how my journey turned out. But yeah, I was working for them, sat for the license, and then they were like, "Oh, we don't have women in this role," and I was like, "What the?"
What?
And my partner at the time and I were like splitting up, and that was like a whole crazy situation. So I applied at a job in Dallas and got it, working with this Indian family. And I basically went from, an an executive assistant to like a property tax manager, and then I ended up being promoted to like litigation specialist and director of operations and all this stuff, and making like six figures. And my secret, I guess if there is one, is that I kept driving my same Honda. Like I drove it till it had 230,000 miles on it. Like I lived the same way, but
Right.
I, quadrupled my income and I saved it all.
It's like Warren
And
Buffett.
then when they wanted me to open a division somewhere else, I picked Houston because it's the largest commercial real estate. And I'm like, well, that's where I'm going to make the most money. Um, yeah. And then Luna got sick. And so that's kind of where my like founder story for Wondercide starts. But I haven't let you guys say anything in like 5 minutes.
No,
So
no, this is great. You're doing all the
Yeah.
work. No, no, I mean, you're basically going right down my list of
Yeah.
how I kind of wanted to go about this, so, no, you're perfectly fine.
yeah,
So, yeah, I mean,
And that's
keep
it. It's
going, go
it's about your story. So
yeah,
do
thank you.
I'm trying to think how to say this with me. Well, let's just move forward. Let's go on.
Let's just move
So,
forward.
yeah, no, we'll come back to the other, I think, later. So,
So
oh,
this is like 2007 ish when I moved from Dallas to Houston. I
okay,
didn't love Dallas. I lived in Lower Greenville and I
okay.
loved that area. You're like rolling your eyes. It's fine. It was cool back then. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun, and I met my now ex-wife. I mean, we ended up being together for 15 years. But I met her like the second weekend I was in Dallas or something. And so when I was offered the opportunity to open another office for this company anywhere in the state of Texas, we picked Houston because she wanted to get a degree. She already had a degree, but she wanted to get a degree in marine biology. So she wanted to go to A&M Galveston.
Mm,
So we bought a house down in Clear Lake, and she commuted to A&M Galveston, and then I commuted into the city to do like tax consulting and stuff like that. So I was there. It was like my first home, and we were doing all the right things. And Houston's like a really buggy area. So I was using the like, spot drops on the dog and having the pest control company spray the lawn in the house. And then Luna got really, really sick. And at that point, she was like 10. And I took her to the vet, and they're like, well, she's an old dog. We don't know what it could be. Like, it could be this, it could be that. She's having liver and kidney like failure. I took her to other specialists, and then they basically thought it was, I can't say the name, but like one of the most popular flea and tick medications on the market that are um, well, what I learned is that these are systemic neurotoxins, and I knew nothing
mm,
about this. I was a liberal arts person. I was not like
right.
math, science, biology, any of that. So just to give
yeah.
that context for what I had to do
Unless you were making
to
drink.
build, yeah, to build what I built. But like she got sick, and they were like, well, like we think she's having a good long life, it's time to put her down. And I looked at her, and I knew that she wasn't done, and I knew that I had to like figure it out. So I left my firm where I had only been a few years making decent money, and my parents were like, what are you doing? Like, what's your like when are you going to get a job? What's happening? But yeah, so I did all this research, and I learned about those products that they call medication and that they call protection. And it's all a big fat lie. And at the same time, so Luna was like having seizures and stuff. And at the same time, my grandmother passed away and left me her cedar chest. So I was like sitting on her cedar chest with Luna at my feet having a seizure. And I had this like aha moment that um, cedar has been used for centuries to protect
Right.
valuables, right? From mummification, like body preserving bodies, to mothballs in your closet and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, what if there was a way to use that? And it's all over Texas. And so I essentially did all this research. I learned all about the EPA, the regulatory codes of the Environmental Protection Agency, like the FDA, like all this stuff. And I found this list um, that essentially said, it's like, it was from like the 1980s. There was this code buried in that said, here's a list of natural ingredients, actives and inerts. And if you can make something that works and prove that it kills bugs, because these are generally recognized as safe, like food grade ingredients. You don't have to go through EPA certification.
Wow.
So I literally like became a mad scientist and cleared out my garage and set up shelves and got ball jars and ordered all these ingredients and like started mixing things and doing research about percentages and like surfactants and mixing oil and water, and just it was kind
Wow.
of a
Wow.
long journey. It took about a year. um, but at the same time, I launched this blog, and this was like back in the day. Like, I don't even know if Facebook was out yet. Maybe it was, but blogs were just kind of happening.
MySpace.
And
MySpace.
MySpace, yeah, MySpace. But a lot of it was just educational. Like, I wanted people to have access and to be able to make informed decisions for their families. And I felt like we were all being lied to by big pharma. And I think a lot of people don't realize, like, the drugs that are prescribed to our animals are owned by human health pharmaceutical companies, right?
Mm.
Like, it's just this big money machine. And so, what I have learned in so much of these things is like follow the dollar. Always follow the dollar, because there you will find the truth. Um, but so I started educating people on it, and then all of these people from all over the country and then all over the world were reaching out to me and saying, like, that happened to us too, and like, here's a video of my cat and here's a video of my dog, and they're like rolling around and they have no hair and like they have seizure, like all this stuff. And at the same time, and they're asking me like, so what can we do? And I'm like, I don't know, like, who am I to like figure that out? I don't know what to do. But that's when I was doing all the research, learned how these systemic neurotoxins work. And the way that they work is it's basically putting doses of poison in your animal's bloodstream. And so when a flea or tick or mosquito bites them, they're
It kills
ingesting
them.
that poison and it kills them. So
Yeah.
what the fuck is it doing to your animal? What is it doing
Yeah.
to us when we like have our arms around them and sleep with them? Like, how are we not putting this together? So the light bulb went off for me and it exploded. And I was like, I have to do something about this. And at the same time, I detoxed my house and my life. I became an avid label reader. Um, and Luna ended up living 7 more years. So
Oh,
as
wow.
a large
Wow.
breed dog, she lived till she was 17.
Oh, wow.
Um, but
That's crazy.
so yeah, the blog was like, I don't even remember what it was called because I didn't have a company name or anything at that point. But now this is like 2009, I think, is when I founded Wondercide. And it's basically like uh, true, safe pest protection, like plant-based pest protection for pets and homes and families, so that you don't have to choose efficacy over safety. And I ended up developing a whole line of like fragrances, and I always thought of it like strong, like the old Secret commercial, if you guys remember this, like like strong enough for a man but made
Men
for a
made
woman.
for woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wanted to empower women. Like, we all like throw our hands up and we're like, bugs are disgusting, and like that's a honey-do list. But like, what if you don't have a honey? And what if you don't want to hire a pest control company? And so making something that was as safe as it was effective and smelled great, I was like, this is the holy grail, right? This is the jam. So
Yeah.
that's what I ended up doing, and then launching the company. And I didn't pay myself for 3 years. I did everything. I built the first website. I did all of the product manufacturing. Like, I literally sat in my garage with a headset on, like talking to customers, filling bottles, getting
Wow.
carpal tunnel from like an igloo cooler. Uh,
Well, I can vouch that it works because we do use it.
that's awesome.
We use the spray. Gosh dang it, you're gonna get me, but we spray it on both of our dogs or whatever. We actually our dog that we lost, Rocket. We were using that on him because he was getting fleas from the freaking next door neighbors that do not, they don't
Right.
mow their lawn, and
Yeah, and then we evolved to like lawn sprays and house
yeah,
sprays and all that
but you
because
could watch it work. Like, you sprayed it on him, and you could watch literally the fleas or anything else just run. So
yeah,
that I'm not trying to plug, but plug because it does work. Like, it
yeah,
literally works. I can remember whenever you started and kind of, I don't know if I reached out to you or whatever it was about that particular time because
mhm,
we didn't want to use something that had pesticides
yeah,
and stuff in it. I'm like, hey, where can I get it? And you're like, oh, it's on Amazon now. So I'm like, sweet. I went
mhm,
ahead and got some off Amazon. I can remember the first place I saw it in a boutique somewhere in McKinney, and I text you. I'm like, it's in a boutique here in McKinney. This is weird, you know? But,
Yeah.
anyway
Yeah,
anyway
it's everywhere now, and in 24, it's launching in PetSmart, Petco,
oh,
Pet
nice.
Supplies Plus, all those stores. And I had that opportunity years ago, but I self-funded the company and bootstrapped it to cash flow positive. What a lot of companies do, like it's called CPG, consumer packaged goods, and what most founders do is they have an idea, they get some seed funding from like angel investors or friends and family and do like prototypes. And then when they have something, then they go raise money from like private equity or venture capital, or they get to like a couple million in revenue and do that. But I didn't want to do that. Like I wanted to have control of everything. And I want to say not for the sake of having control of everything. Maybe there's a little truth to that. But I think it's because the category was like in its infancy and people didn't even know what to search for yet, right? And so it was going to take nurturing, and it was going to take protecting, and it was going to take um, being very, very mission focused and strategic for the long run in order for this thing to like survive. And because I saw
Right.
other brands pop up about that same time, they were owned, there was like small brands and then there was like enormous ones, and none of them exist anymore. So
Wow.
I think the way that I did it is pretty unique to CPG for sure.
Huh. What was the first place that it went that you what was the first place you signed a deal with to put it in their store? Or was
Probably like in Austin, probably like Tomlinson's or Bark and Purr. I mean, now we have, I don't know, over 5,000 boutiques nationwide. And it's fun. Like I was in Boise earlier this year and like ran in there with my friend to get some treats or whatever. And there was like a wall of it. And like my face is
nice.
on all the bottles and the story and everything. So it's
Yeah.
kind of wild.
Well, that's what draws you in, like, even if you don't like, if you pick it up and you turn it around and it's got the story there. I
Yeah.
mean, you know how many people freaking love their pets. I mean, obviously, look what you did
That's
for
why
your
I did that.
yeah, you did everything because of you love that dog. I mean, when it comes
Yeah.
down to it.
Yeah.
And you know, the pet people that are pet people are die-hard pet people. When you
Oh
take
yeah.
that and turn it around and read your story, it's like, why the hell would I not get of course I'm gonna do
Sure,
that,
yeah.
you know?
Well, and then yeah, and then I had young kids, and I'll get to that, but I guess going back a step, uh when Luna passed, so I was down in Clear Lake when I started the company. I ran it there a few years, and I was coming to Austin because it's very entrepreneurial, very supportive, a lot of networking and stuff. So I
Yeah.
was coming up here and sleeping on couches. Like, do you guys remember Sean Armstrong?
Yeah, I text with
Yeah,
him every
he's
once in a
still
while
like
on Facebook, yeah.
yeah, it's still like one of my best friends. I remember like sleeping on his couch more nights than I would have liked. But yeah, like coming back and forth, and then we eventually moved back to Austin. Um, but when Luna died, it was I guess like March 24th of 2015. No, 2014. Um, and it was kind of beautiful. Like we did our like walk in the bluebonnets, and I mean, I had no idea that she was going to pass that afternoon, but it was like
Oh,
it was a tradition, right? And now I do it with my kids, but like every year we're Texans, right? Like you go take bluebonnet pictures,
right.
and I would
I
always
brought
do
my
that for
dog to the Bluebonnets every year. Yeah.
absolutely, and it's just it's so fun. And so we did that, and we were back at home, and she wasn't feeling great, and we were like sitting in the backyard, and she passed away in my arms, and this like swarm of dragonflies came over us, and now I see dragonflies all the time.
Wow.
It's wild. They're like definitely like a spirit animal for me. Um, but the afternoon that she passed away, I got a phone call from Shark Tank, and I thought it was like a prank. I'm like, wait, what? What? I did, and I was like, obviously grieving. And they were like, yeah, so we've been following your company. Like, we've checked you out. We want to have you on. Like, we film 2 times a year in May. And mind you, this is March 24th. We film in May and October. So we want to have you on our October show because most companies need 9 to 13 months to prep. And I'm like, well, I just found out I'm pregnant and I'm like 39 years old at this point, about to like have my first human child. So Luna's passed away. I just find out I'm pregnant with my first human child at 39. Shark Tank is calling me uh, to be on in October, and I can't because that's when I'm due.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Do you think there's any way that you could be ready for May?" And I'm like, I don't I I don't know. And like at first I didn't want to do it. I declined. And then my team was like, this is I feel like this is like Luna's gift to you. It's the universe's gift to you. Like you are doing good and you have this authentic story and the world needs to hear it. Like the whole reason, your whole purpose and mission behind what you're doing is to help people, like save people's lives, humans and animals, right? And so I felt I would say responsible is sort of this like thread that has led through for me and with this heavy side of resilience. But I felt very responsible. Like I was called to do this thing. Like, here's your mission. Now, like,
Right.
go figure it out.
Yeah.
So I ended up, going on the show, and it was wild because it was like my first trimester. But I hired these people. You know how you can like hire people online to like do research for you and like admin projects and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just giving this context because people are like, how did you prepare for that? You had 6 weeks when everybody else in the history of the show has like a year to get ready for this.
Right.
And I was like, well, I was very strategic about it. I hired someone to watch every episode of Shark Tank that had ever aired.
Wow.
And their task was to type up every single question. And then at night, when I wasn't running the company during the day, because I had to keep it going and employees to pay and, figure all the things out, I would study all those questions.
Huh.
And so that's how I prepared for it.
I probably
And
would have done shit. I would have been like, I'll see you.
it was wild. I also came up with this mantra because I know how powerful like self-talk is and mindset and stuff. And so I was like, I am not like I'm not comfortable doing public speaking even still now, and I've been interviewed and done a bunch of things and was on Shark Tank. But I was like super nervous, and so I came up with this mantra, and it was what was it? Whoops. I'm calm. What is it? Now I'm on the spot. I'm totally
It's like I don't
forgetting
need
it.
it anymore.
Uh, it was something like I'm calm. I'm a clear communicator. Okay, I can't remember what it was.
And doggone it, people like me.
But it really helped. And so when the doors flew open, like the
Right.
doors flew open and you go in and you're like standing there with the sharks.
Dun, dun,
It was awesome
dun,
though. It was
dun.
a great
Yeah.
experience. I got a deal on the show. I didn't end up taking it afterwards, and so I think we became like very, very successful. And people were like, "Oh, you had Laura Grenier and the Sharks and all the money and all the resources." I had zero of that, zero of that. And then when it aired, Finley had been born, and I was like 4 months pregnant when I filmed the show, and then she was 4 months old when the show aired. So now I'm like running this company. Not you don't know when the show's going to air. Like it's either going to air in May or sometime between May and October. I don't know. Or maybe it was like October and May. That's when the season aired. But I believed it would be in the spring, and it was. And I was like, watch, it's going to be during South by, and I won't be able to like rent a venue and have a watch party. And guess what? I got like 4 days notice, and it was the week of South by Southwest.
Oh man.
So we just had a big fucking tent party in the parking lot. And there was like 300 people there for the watch party. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I remember that, and I was like on stage with a microphone nursing Finley, like boob out, nursing Finley, microphone, like the show behind, like it was wild, the like layers of stuff that were required to do all of that,
To
you
do,
know.
yeah. Well, you've done. I mean, you've obviously done an awesome job. Look at where you're at now. I mean, Jesus. Just and I don't know. It's very touching. It's very like I'll say this, and this is not a dig at you, but I mean I've known you for a long time, And whenever all that started coming out, I was like, Stephanie Boone, are you sure? And I was like, because
Oh my
we all
gosh, he
we just
so
always
that's
had so much fun together. I never thought of you in a serious light because we. Does
yeah.
that make
Well,
sense? I
I
mean,
have been real serious for the last 30 years.
yeah, you'd kind of
Or
told me
since
that, and which was
18. That
surprising.
was sort of a life-changing moment. But yeah, so when I was referencing earlier like remembering comments from a um
Other people.
reunion,
That's what I was okay. I was gonna go there.
there
Let's
was
go
a
there.
there was a couple of girls in my class uh who came up to me, and they're always together. I'm pretty sure they still live in Temple. I think they do with their families. And came up to me and they're like, "Oh, Stephanie, like, what are you doing now?" And this is probably like 2010. Like, I had been doing it a couple years, and I was like maybe doing 500,000 in revenue or something. It like wasn't, it was big, but it wasn't like that big
Right,
at the time.
right.
And I was like, "Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I started this company, and this is what I'm up to." And one of them said, "Oh my God, I didn't know you were that smart." And the other one was like, "You
Yeah,
can't
back.
you can't say that." And she's like, "What? I didn't know she was that smart."
That's funny.
And I was like, "Oh my God, now you said it twice."
Well,
So
that
that's just
wasn't
always
what I was saying a while ago. Mine was more, we were
these
having
are
too much fun.
yeah. Well, these are also girls that I got to go to Baylor with. And
Oh, okay. I think I already
they
know.
left they left with husbands, and I left in an ambulance. So like very different paths here,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
different paths. But it always, and them and then some other people that I've seen and met along the way, um, now always try to contact me on social media. They're
Oh, yeah,
like
of course.
LinkedIn, Facebook,
Yeah,
Instagram, like wherever. And I'm like,
of
deny,
course.
deny. Like, I want nothing to do with any of that. Like
Yeah,
fake shit, you
Hey,
know?
cuz, what's up?
yeah.
Right.
Well, it looks, I guess I made the okay list then because you've
Yeah, you
responded
made
to
the okay list.
But this actually went a lot faster than I thought. So this is actually, we're getting kind of down the thing. So you once you've been on Shark Tank, Wondercide is like super duper doing well. And didn't you have like family and friends and stuff working for you? Um,
Yeah.
cause
My sister has been the vice president of operations over manufacturing, HR, like lots of things. She just left the company. I ended up selling the company. Um, I don't know if you want to like get into any of that,
yeah, I
but
mean a little, just a little bit, like how that came about and when it
yeah.
happened.
Well, so after Shark Tank, we were sort of on the map, and we were maybe doing, mm, how can I say this, seven figures around that time, like on an annualized basis. But after Shark Tank, like the night it aired, we did over $1 million in the first night.
Yeah, I believe it.
Wow.
Um, and then it was figuring out like, I didn't have investors. So when you make products and people are the ones who make them, you need money for the ingredients. There's like a whole supply chain. There's
Mhm.
like all of this infrastructure that has to be built out, right? And so we're always having to evolve like our e-commerce system, our accounting system, our manufacturing equipment, which didn't exist. Like we were
Scalability.
hand filling everything at the time. And then by
Right.
the time I left, lots of things were automated. But yeah, I mean, I started in my garage. The first real office space, or like office manufacturing, like warehouse space I had was like 1,500 square feet. In a year, moved into 3,000 square feet. And then we had to move to a different building. And these were like 5,000 square feet spaces. And that was terrifying to me. This is like
I bet.
20, well, it's probably like 2015, about the same time that Shark Tank hit. And then we just kind of exploded, and it was like it got real then, because it's like, how am I going to fund the growth, right?
Right.
How, like, so lots of nuance and intricacies to all of that kind of stuff. But I kind of shifted at that point from being like a startup founder to a CEO, and really doubling down on like leadership and taking care of people and doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And that's sort of been a recipe of like always take care of the people. But we grew, and then we knocked through a wall and we went to 10,000 square feet. And then a year later, we knocked out a wall and went into 15,000 square feet. then we hit the end of the building, and then we had to move, and then it's like snowpocalypse 2020 or something. I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah, yeah.
And COVID. Um, but anyway, we ended up moving into like 45,000 square feet. So
Wow.
that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Um, I had just shy of 50 employees, and built an incredible team, and I really like, they're the ones that did all the work, but not but and then COVID hit, and that was sort of a boon for us because you guys don't have a sound for that.
Oh, we can, yeah.
He's
I don't think.
ah,
Yeah, so
nice.
that was sort of a boon for us because people were at home. They were working remote. They were hanging out with their families. They were hanging out in their yards. They were hanging out with their dogs, and they had more time to be conscious about what they were doing and what they were using and just like all the stuff. And so that was kind of this like next wave of success. But when I was saying earlier about like how CPG works and like how it's funded, there's friends and family money, there's angel investors, then there's private equity and venture capital. And what those guys do, and I say guys because it's like 95% again cis hetero white men. But what those and it's we're us, the women are trying to change it. Some of the guys are trying to change it, but what they do is they throw a ton of cash into these companies, and they expect you to like triple or quadruple in a couple of years, and then they sell you to a strategic. And a strategic is like a big house of brands. It would be like Nestle or I don't know who owns Pedigree, but anyway, that's a big brand. Like Procter and Gamble, SC Johnson, like some of these like big like house of brands. Um, and I just did not want to do that. I didn't want to lose control of the mission and the vision and the purpose and all of that kind of stuff. And there was a strategic after Shark Tank that approached me and like, hey, we're really interested in your company, let's talk. And we met, and they made me an offer, and I was just like, yeah, now is not the right time. Like, I've put way too much into it to get this out of it, so like that doesn't work for me.
Right.
Well, that continued for 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
And I said, no, no, no. I had no backup plan, but I just said no. But we had enough profit to invest in growth, and we just kept going and doing what we did best. And in 2020, they came to me and they were like, what's it going to take? And I said, this is what it's going to take. And these are my terms. And this is how the ingredients have to be protected and like all of those things. And they basically said, okay. So they bought majority.
Wow.
Um, and I think the thing that's so, and cut me off if we're like going too
Oh, no,
long,
you're good. You're good.
because I have kind of a lot to say about this. The thing that was so hard about that is my now ex-wife and I had been together and married for 15 years, and we had 2 kids at 39 and 41. So I had newborns, toddlers, right? I have this opportunity to sell this business, which is my baby, like based on my firstborn. And this opportunity comes, and we decide to separate.
Wow.
And we get like separate apartments and leave the kids at the house. It's called like the bird's nest, so that we don't have to jack up their lives while we figure our adult shit out. But we had this
Ah.
family vacation planned in March of 2020, and she was like, I'm not getting on the plane with you. And so I got on the plane with how old were they? 18 months and 3 years old. Had Because we had the house rented, the car rented, the car seats rented. Like, this was a situation. But I needed like a break, right?
Sure, yeah.
And at the same time, I have this letter of intent like waiting on my desk. Like, am I going to sign it? Am I not going to sign it? What am I going to do? So part of this was, well, going back to that, like spring break, she's not going or whatever. We get to Colorado, and that's the week that COVID hits and the world shuts down. And so we come back, and then I'm basically like living in 700 square feet with toddlers,
Wow.
running a company from my desk, which is also my son's living room, like in the living desk, my office in the living room, in his bedroom, essentially, right? It just wild. And I basically kind of met with her, and this is like getting a little, I guess, in the weeds, but I knew what I built and I knew what I put into it. I mean, I worked easy 80 hours a week. I went into millions of dollars of personal debt, SBA loans. Like, I did it in a smart way, but I was all in, and I
Mhm.
believed in what I was doing, and I believed in myself to accomplish it. And I was just like, look, if we're going to end up getting divorced, like, we need to have an agreement that, like, this is my company. Like, I'm going to have
Yeah.
real heartburn if I have to write you a check for half of what I get.
Yeah,
So
right.
we ended up going through like this, like, property agreement and all this stuff, and we just basically divided our assets, and the company was mine and all the other stuff is hers. So I was very fortunate to have a reasonable, life partner that was like, yeah, this was your, like, you built this. This is
Mhm.
yours. Like, I don't, she's well taken care of. Um, but like, I was able to navigate that whole legal thing and a separation and divorce, which took like 2 years, while selling my company and doing all of the due diligence with toddlers on the floor on Zoom.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
just to paint a picture, like, it was
Yeah.
fucking intense.
I bet. Good lord.
Yeah. And we were doing like 7 figures at the time, and in the first year took it to, I guess, 8 figures, and in 3 years built it to 9 figures.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Um and then this summer while I was in Europe, they purchased the, like, remaining portion of the company. And I didn't know that was going to happen. Like, I knew it would happen within 3 to 5 years, but I had about a year and a half left, and I was like, "We're doing great. We're like
Yeah.
breaking all the goals and hitting all the benchmarks." And then, yeah, it was just kind of over.
I bet that was weird.
It still is a process. Yeah, yeah, it's been weird. I mean,
So what are you doing now then? It's like, are you still
because I loved my
doing all
team, and I think, like, leaving my team was, like, really the hard part. I
Yeah,
also think
sure.
if they wouldn't have done it, I don't know if I would have left, and I was so burnt out,
Right.
And, like, if I there was a point where I hit a wall, and for way too long, I was just sliding down it, and I
Yeah.
wasn't, like, I couldn't step away. So I'm actually, like, really grateful. I'm trying to find the
Mm,
gratitude in all of it.
yeah.
Because I wouldn't have what I have, or wouldn't be where I am, or wouldn't have been able to take care of my team the way that I did, in a lot of ways that most companies do not do. Everybody got, like, had, not everybody, but like most of the team had equity. And when I succeeded, they succeeded. Like, it was very, like,
Uh,
people were taken care of. So I'm really, really proud of that.
so it's still Wondercide, it's just owned by somebody else, and that
Yeah.
team is still pretty much intact doing the company, your team? Or the
Yeah, I mean,
your team?
some people have chosen to leave and go do other things. So some of that is happening, but yeah.
Okay.
I will say it's like one of the largest privately held CPG companies in the world. They aren't managed by shareholders.
Oh,
And
nice.
the reason that I went with them is they have always done the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And there were so many of my core values, like, they fully support women in business, they fully support LGBT LGBTQIA. They rank 100% with the Human Rights Campaign every year. They're really, they're really tackling the issue of, like, plastics. So I just felt like I wasn't going to be able to do it forever, and it was going to be sold to someone, and it was absolutely the best choice I could have made
Yeah.
for the brand.
Well, that's awesome.
You
So
know,
what are you doing
and
now then?
protecting. What's up?
So what are you doing now then? Are you just enjoying retirement, or
Oh my
you
god, I clean house all the time, I do dishes, like, I'm a chauffeur. My kids are now they're 6 and 8, and they're in all the
Uh,
activities and doing all the
That's
things, and
good. That's awesome.
yeah, I
You're
mean, I
getting
living
have
to
life.
enjoy life.
That's it.
I do. We travel a lot. I love traveling with them. Like, I don't think I went on my first airplane until I was, like, 21, and my kids have been flying since they
Right.
were born, you know?
Yeah.
They've been to I don't know how many countries. Like, it's great. I love it. And actually my brother works with me. Do you remember Brock?
I know, yeah. I was gonna ask
Dude,
about Brock.
I tell people he's like my life partner, like, not in a romantic way.
Yeah. He
Like,
he
yeah, he's here, like, all the time, and I love that for the kids because I want them they have 2 moms, you know? So, I want them to have, like, really strong male, influences and role models and, like, people we
Yeah,
trust, you know?
Yeah, right on. Well, man, just I'll come
certainly.
over and I'll, act like an idiot and be Uncle Heath every once in a while. How's that? Uh, so
They would love that.
so, alright, so let's go ahead and wind it down. Do you want to go back to the traumatic experience thing, or are we done
I
with that?
don't I think I'm done with that.
Okay, fair enough. I just and you said come back to it, so that's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
And then so are you doing anything with the company at all now? Are you just I mean, are you a consultant for them or you just you're done? It's all them now.
I have that opportunity available to me. I think it's been a few months and I'm sort of in a wait and see period of like how is it going to go?
I
Because
got
in order to consult or be a brand ambassador or something, like I have to have integrity in what I'm doing and alignment with who I'm doing it with. And I mean I have integrity with them, but it's like I don't know, let's see how they operate. I'm not sure.
you. Yeah.
But I really and maybe it's more about, like, me than them. I have I'm doing a ton of stuff in nonprofits and a
Okay.
ton of philanthropy. I spend a lot of time, doing that. I spend a lot of time mentoring small business owners,
Oh, right on.
for free.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I'm kind of on speed dial for multiple different founders. So I'm doing a lot of that. I'm doing more networking. I'm doing a lot more like coffees and lunches and like seeing people that were like, oh, we should catch up sometime. And then 3 years goes by.
Right,
So
right.
I'm really spending this time. I'm doing a lot of self care. I work out a
Uh,
lot.
good.
I meditate. I like do all the things. Lots of podcasts. Lots of reading. Um, yeah, hanging out with my kids a lot. I love to cook. Hanging out with my dog.
S
Um,
Get that mental
I've
health back where it should be.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
invested in a few things. I'm trying to figure out like when people are like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm being."
Yeah, right.
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 And I'm thinking I might open a queer bar here in Austin because so many of them have gone away.
You know,
So
I was gonna
um,
ask you that. This is kind of a weird question. I'm gonna ask it anyway because I know you don't
ask
give a
it.
shit. You know,
That's
when
okay.
okay, this is totally off topic, sort of. So
Yeah.
when we were younger and whatnot, when you used something that was a gay term like queer or fag
Uh-huh.
or whatever the case may be, it was horrible. Like it was just that
Mhm.
you didn't say that. And now
Mhm.
it's like like I don't care who you love, just love that person, okay? And
Mhm.
if you don't like that I love that person, just screw you, don't worry about me. But anyway,
Right.
so but what I'm like, how do the I don't know how to even say it, the LBG whatever community, ho when you say the word
LGBTQIA.
I'll never get that down. But
So I will say I think what you're getting with is like how do I know what terminology to use and
yeah,
what is acceptable versus offensive? And
yeah,
I would say cuz we are the same age, we're kind of old school, right?
yeah,
Like I dated someone 6 months ago that's 10 years younger than me. And she used that word all the time. So like a millennial, right? And like she used that word all the time and I'm like, "What? Like can we say that? Like what's happening right now?" She's like,
yeah,
no, this is how we all identify instead of being divisive. And this is what I understand anyway. I'm no authority on the subject matter. Um, but I think because there is divisiveness versus unity in the queer community. There's like lesbian, gay, bisexual, intersex, asexual. But at the end of the day, it's the queer community. It sort of encompasses anyone who is not hetero, I guess, like heteronormative. right? If there's any alt to your sexuality, um, and or gender identity, then that is queer. And I believe, I understand that to be like the socially acceptable
Okay.
kind of like kind inclusive terminology. I would not go around calling people fag or dyke.
Sure, no.
So,
No, it's just, I'm not, I'm a straight guy that I'm not gonna lie,
right,
I only have a handful of gay friends, and they're
right.
not the friends that I hang out
And
on
I
the
think you can
norm.
say gay too. I think gay
Yeah.
is sort of all inclusive and not offensive.
Yeah, and when we were texting earlier this week, when you used the term queer, I'm like, "Is it okay for me to say that?" Because
Mhm.
I don't wanna say something that's gonna offend somebody, obviously. I wanna use the right terminology, and being
Absolutely the same.
a s a straight person that isn't around that all the time, I don't know for sure what's acceptable. So, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask
Well,
you
I think
that, so
just
you've
that
made it clear.
yeah, I think just that you're asking means that you care, and
Yeah.
even being a lesbian, I don't always know the right terms. Like, I don't like, I could be offending people. I don't know, and
I just don't
I don't
like
know.
labels, like, even saying you're a
Yeah.
lesbian, I don't it sounds horrible to me. You're Stephanie. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about if you're
So,
whatever
I
it
think
is.
yeah, I mean, I think the reason it matters is you may not give a shit about it, but there's a lot of people who do give a shit about it, and they throw
Yeah.
a lot of shade and they throw a lot of hate. And so, this was one of the things that I brought up to you is representation matters. And what I mean by that is, you were talking about us like dating in high school, and when did I you didn't ask this, but people ask me all this question all the time, like, when did you realize that you were gay? Like, when did you come out? And it's like, well, I think I realized I was gay at like 20, 21. And I came out like sort of I was outed, so I wouldn't say I came out, but it did come out. um but I didn't know that was a thing. Like, I remember being very uncomfortable. Like, I always dated guys in high school.
Yeah.
And I remember like liking them. I remember though the first time like I kissed a woman versus a man, I was like,
Oh.
"Oh, oh, like this is what everyone's all excited about, right?" Like, but I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, I don't know that there was any lesbians in Temple. Like, I didn't see, like, so going back to representation, it wasn't on television. We didn't have the internet. And I know it sounds
Yeah.
archaic to fucking say
Yeah.
that, but like my class
Yeah.
my senior year was like on a typewriter or something.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have access to
Uh,
information, and a global worldview or whatever. And like, I didn't know what I didn't know, but I reflect back and I was like, I was always really uncomfortable like in locker rooms. And like I said, I lettered in like 5 or 6 sports. I was always in locker rooms.
Locker rooms.
But at the time, like, I would always change in stalls. And at the time, I thought it was because I didn't have a positive body image. Like, I didn't want people to see my body. And what I realized later was I was like, I shouldn't be in here. Like, I shouldn't be seeing
Uh,
girls naked.
right.
But I had no idea. Like, I had no idea.
Right. That makes
Um,
sense. I'm glad you said that because that makes sense to me.
yeah. And so when people are like, "Yeah, I don't care, love who you love, it doesn't matter." I love the spirit of that, but it also can be harming in a way that, like, right now, that community, our community's rights, and letting people be who they are and gender affirming care and all this other stuff are being stripped away by the conservative Christian right. And they think that books are going to make their kids gay. You know what? Every fucking book that they're taking off the list in the state of Texas right now, I read. It did not make me, that is not the thing that made me gay.
Right.
That's not the thing. Like, reading Anne Frank isn't going to make you gay either. Um, it's like that kind of stuff. And so I also realized, like, I was sort of taken to task on this, um, with this person that I dated that was like, you're out, but you're not really out. Like, you don't talk about it and you don't present as queer. Like, that's called masking. And I'm like, huh. I'm like, I don't do that. I just dress how I like and wear my hair how I like or whatever. And if I'm being honest with myself, that's not true. It's not true. Like, I have been masking as straight for 25 years, and that doesn't mean I want to like shave my head and dye it blue. I mean, maybe I will, but like, I still am who I am and I like what I
Yeah.
like. But I also was conditioned because I
Yep.
grew up in conservative Christian Temple, Texas. Like, if people think, oh, she's gay or that's a fag or like she's a lesbian or whatever, I went to Temple Bible Church. I know what they say about those people,
All right.
and the shame of all of that, and not even like getting to be like who you are or loving yourself because you know how disgusting people think you are. Like, that is a lot of work that like hetero people never have to deal with. So again, I appreciate you saying like I don't care, like whatever, like love who you
Yeah.
love, and I know that you mean that in a kind way. But like, if we don't have people like you as allies that actually do stand up for
Sure.
and speak about and support people being who they are, because there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
then it just injures a lot of people and people don't even realize it. And they're going to end up hurting their kids who are going to come out queer too,
Right. Yeah.
you
No.
know? Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox about that.
No,
But
no, I wanted you to. I
it's like
really
a whole
did.
thing,
Because I wanted to hear it from someone that I know and that I trust, and
Yeah.
only
And
that
I don't have all the answers, and I'm just now
none of us
like,
do.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, no, I wanted to hear your perspective from it because you're a friend of mine and you're someone I trust opposed to something on TV or something I heard somewhere or whatever, that's why I wanted your perspective on it, but and I
yeah.
appreciate you sharing that with us, I really do.
Yeah. I
Um,
think we're all just doing, I mean, I like to believe that we're all doing the best we can, and, when you know better, you do better. So I always encourage people to like
yeah,
learn more.
yeah.
Communicate.
When we were younger, we need to shut this down pretty quickly, but because we're going long, but, um, society taught me a lot of stupid shit, and,
Yeah. Societal constructs are a mind fuck.
yeah, yeah. It wasn't my family, it wasn't my friends, it was society taught me this bullshit, and,
Hmm.
for a long time, I believed it because I was just a dumb kid, you know?
Hmm.
I believed it, I made fun of it, I did all these things that a lot of people do because that's what society tells you to do, and it makes you feel like it's okay. Um,
Hmm.
and then I had God dang it, Stephanie, you're gonna get me crying. I'm such a crier.
I love that.
But then I met a friend that was a black guy that was gay, and
Hmm.
I didn't he wasn't out as gay, but I knew it, and I pretty
Hmm.
much know that he knew it too. And he was the nicest guy to me. Like, I didn't, and after that is when it all opened up for me, and I went, why do I give a crap? I mean, just be
It's
you.
fear. It's
Yeah,
fear.
yeah,
And they
yeah,
root fear and hate in people, and you don't have hate in you. So you had the ability to question, do I believe this? Or do I believe that I believe this? Right.
yeah,
And I think
yeah,
if people ask themselves that question about a lot more in their lives, they would probably find their true selves and not who like the societal construct of like making you who you are. And it's not who we are, it's who we were conditioned to be.
yeah,
And so I think there's a lot of like undoing to be done.
yeah. Well, and unfortunately, this country's taken a huge step back in the last few years, um,
Yeah.
and that jump forward that was going on at the time has kind of been nullified, and it's going to take a long time to get back to where it was. Um, anyway, I'll shut
Yeah,
up
it's
now.
scary. It's scary for a lot of people, and especially women with uteruses.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's
Yeah.
for real. I mean, that's the truth of it. But all right, let's get positive, and he stopped crying. All right. I'm such a I
Ah.
can't help it. I've said it before on this podcast. I've
It's
battled with
so healthy though.
for
Don't be
years,
sorry. Don't
but
apologize for feeling how you feel. Don't apologize for that.
but it's something that I can't stop. I don't know. I wish I could
I love
sometimes,
it.
but so what we always do here at the end is, hey, what do you got coming up for fun or whatever? So let's go to Joshua over here and let me wipe my eyes. What are you doing this week?
I'm gonna have a weekend at home for once.
Oh hell yeah!
No, not for once, but been busy, busy, busy. Great things happening the last couple of weekends, but have a chance to relax and catch up on some homework and
Homework.
uh,
Boo.
What are
yeah.
you doing in school, Josh?
So I'm going back. Yeah, uh, I have an associate's, but I'm going back to get a bachelor's degree and doing data
Gosh.
analytics. So
Oh, that's huge. Everybody needs that.
yeah,
Yeah,
make
not
smart
he.
decisions on
That's right.
data. So
Uh-huh.
Right.
I
What you
always
got?
call that making decisions with your head and your heart. You got to have data,
but
but also intuition is pretty
sure,
key.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that's awesome. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Oh shoot. Okay, what are you doing, Stephanie?
Eh,
um, so I have a little ranch out in the hill country where there's like a lot of uh
Outdoor
large
activities?
animals.
Large
No,
animals?
there are outdoor activities. I love axe throwing so much. But yeah,
Oh.
it's a wildlife preserve, and so we've like
Oh,
saved a
awesome.
bunch of animals, and there's like elk and lechwe and antelope and a lot of stuff running around out there.
Oh, that's
We
cool.
just like
That's
hang
awesome.
out, go on safari. We don't shoot anything, catch fish and throw them back.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm just like go hang out in the country this weekend. I think with a couple girlfriends.
All right on. I
where the,
grew
where
up
the
with
deer and the antelope play. So
yeah. I
Right? Yes.
yeah, I grew up with my
And
family
killer sunsets.
with
yeah,
Heath, Heath, what are
family.
you up to?
Oh, well, I
yeah. There you go. She got the
yeah,
question.
she got it. He always misses it. And it's like, "Will you freaking ask me what I'm doing?" I'll go back real quick. I don't know. I know Josh knows because he's went as a with me before. But my family had a ranch growing up, and man, I miss that. So that's awesome that you're getting to do with that with your kiddos because
Well,
they'll.
you guys are welcome to come hang out. Come
Well,
on down.
we'll definitely do it. But I mean,
Yeah, make a trip.
your kiddos are are so lucky to have that because it's such a great experience. I had that growing up, being out having a ranch and being able to be outside and with nature and all that good stuff. So that's
They love
awesome.
it. We have this like souped up golf cart and they take people on safari and they'll point
Nice.
out like what the trees are. Like that's an
I,
oak,
I love
that's a
trees.
mesquite, like see that's a cedar. I'm like, you better know that one. Like our
Yeah.
whole everything we
I'm
have is
down
because
for
of
that.
cedar trees. But yeah, and then like all the animals, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I love it for them.
All right. So anyway, so what I'm gonna do, so actually, yeah, it's there's a positive and a negative what's going on this weekend. The unfortunate negative is my wife Cody, her grandmother passed away. So we are
Oh,
going
I'm
to
so
her
sorry.
memorial and funeral this weekend in Oklahoma. The positive thing is I'm being able to go see one of my favorite comedians, Josh Blue. So I'm so excited to go see him. I don't know if you guys don't know who that is. He's a comedian that has cerebral palsy, and he is freaking hilarious.
What's
Uh,
his last name?
Blue, like the color.
Okay.
Josh Blue. Go
Yeah,
look him up. He was
Okay.
on Last Comic Standing many years ago and won. And he has done tons of specials. He is flipping hilarious, and he's finally
yeah.
here. And I actually talked to him a little bit today. I'm hoping to get him on the show. So going to
Oh,
see him
fun.
yeah, going to see him tomorrow. Hopefully get to step aside for a minute with him and talk about podcast stuff. And he's looking to come on. So let's hope that happens.
Well, it will probably be a lot funnier than this episode.
No, it was great.
We had some moments. Yeah,
Yeah, no, it was great. Don't say that because I liked every single second of it. You said so much, and it's a beautiful story when it all comes
I
down
love
to it.
people's stories. Yeah,
Yeah, you did
Yeah,
what you
thank you.
did before your dog, and that is freaking awesome. That's just
yeah.
that's how is that not touching? If it's not, then stop listening to my
Well, I
podcast.
did get the trademark fierce love. So,
Oh,
Oh,
nice, right on. Well,
yeah.
okay.
thank you so much for coming
Yeah, thank
on,
you.
and hopefully we'll come look at some elk with you.
Yeah, come hang out. I appreciate you guys so much and what you're doing. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will talk to you guys next time. We're gone.